Hey y'all, and welcome to season 3 of the Be a Boss Coaching Podcast. My name is Beatriz. I'm a business and entrepreneur coach, and I'm the founder of Be a Boss Coaching. In this podcast season, I am thrilled to have a brand new lineup of guests from diverse fields, each bringing their own unique products and services to the table. Not only are we featuring inspiring business entrepreneurs and their stories, but we'll also dive into the skills and innovations that are integral in building a thriving business. Get ready for topics that are essential for your entrepreneurial journey. In this season, we'll cover everything from healing to AI to creativity to building a private practice. Stay tuned and don't forget to visit beabosscoaching.com where you can read our other blogs, listen to our other podcast episodes, and join our newsletter where you'll find out about new services and offers and exclusive discounts and so much more. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Be a Boss Coaching Podcast. Today is a special re-released episode. I have never re-released an episode before, but I'm doing it today. And I'm doing it today because, quite frankly, this whole week, I just did not have the energy and motivation to put out a new episode. And even the episodes that I did have recorded, again, did not have the energy to edit. So I will be re-releasing a previous episode that came out in season 2, and it is called 5 Things You Need to Hear as an Introvert Entrepreneur. And I really wanted to put this one out right now because this whole week we've all been introverts in some way or form. We've all maybe have sheltered ourselves and maybe felt a bit of with low energy, maybe felt hard to motivate ourselves to keep going. And I do want to say that I definitely plan to release a new episode next week. I do have 3 new guests that you will hear from, and I'm excited for you to hear from these incredible entrepreneurs and women and to learn from them. So a new episode will release next week. But in the meantime, I'd like you to listen to this episode if you haven't listened to it already. It illustrates the strengths that we have as introvert entrepreneurs, if you identify as an introvert entrepreneur. But I just wanted to remind you that if you're here, you're listening to it, and you identify as an introvert entrepreneur, that you have incredible strengths, and that we can use those strengths to our advantage when we are making decisions and continuing to move along and walk along this journey that we call entrepreneurship. So I hope that you enjoy this episode, and we'll come back next week with a new episodes, new interviews, and I will be closing out season 3 with 3 new interview episodes for you. So that is coming. Thank you so much. And if you haven't done so already, please come and review the podcast, leave a rating. It really helps the podcast to continue to be discovered by others, and that would be amazing support from you. So thank you so much. I hope that this week is much, much better after everything that we collectively went through last week. But I'm excited to continue doing my work. I am reignited and reminded of why I do the work that I do. All right. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Be a Boss Coaching Podcast. My name is Beatriz. I am an entrepreneur and business coach for women of color, BIPOC, and queer entrepreneurs who want to walk along their journey like a boss. And I'm really feeling good about that, I guess, slogan. I don't know what to call that. I would like, if you guys think that's a little cheese, let me know. But I like it. I just think it's it goes well with the Be a Boss coaching umbrella and just the fact that it has the word boss in it. 'Cause sometimes you gotta feel like a boss bitch. You just got to. But I'm so glad that you're here. This episode is more of a very relaxed episode. It's going to be something that I am doing to remain, one, consistent. Because, y'all, I think I've said it before, podcasting has really kept me consistent, but it's also a lot of work. And I want this process to remain fun. I want this to remain fun for me, and it is. But I'm an introvert. I get really tired and my energy depletes when I'm talking to a lot of people and whatnot. But this is a solo episode, so I'm really excited because I get to do a solo episode today because it taps in to what I want to talk about, which is 5 things you need to hear as an introvert entrepreneur. It's 5 because it's what I created and came up with, and it's what feels truest to me right now. So this is that. Before I get into it, just want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for supporting this podcast, for leaving a review, for leaving a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. And I just want to, any other new folks who are listening, thank you so much for being here. I hope that I get to one day meet you and get to talk to you and get to know about your story. And I hope that the episode so far and what we've been talking about, and then everyone else who has shared and come on the podcast and shared their stories, that I hope that they have been fruitful, engaging, and taken so much away. With that being said, I would like to invite you to come on over to beabosscoaching.com if you'd like to learn more about me. And I share a little bit about my background as a social worker, as a former social worker, also as someone who is from South Central Los Angeles, someone who lived in New York for 8 years and has just learned so much over the past decade. And now over these past 2 years as a business owner, as a coach, learning about other people's businesses and just creating. I want to share really quick that I've been having so many ideas lately. I actually had a conversation with my husband recently this weekend about wanting to open up a physical store, like a brick and mortar. And I fantasized about that, and him and I have fantasized about that quite some time. And I think now I feel like it's going to happen at some point, because when I think about something and when it's in my head, even if it's in my head for a very long time, I know that things are going to happen because they need to happen. If I think about them to the point where they're in my head, constantly replaying, fantasizing about them, even if it's been years. And this is a good example. This podcast is a great example because I have been wanting to podcast since 2017, ever since I started listening to podcasts back in 2015. Shout out to my friend Kalima who put me on the podcast game, and ever since I'm obsessed with finding new podcasts, and I listen to different types of podcasts, from financial podcasts to gossip podcasts to culture podcasts to psychology podcasts. And I'm so privileged. I feel so privileged to be in now myself in the podcast game. But it took me 5 years, right? Not more than that. It took me more than 5 years to really get out of my head. It took me wanting to start a business, me starting a business to really get this going. And I'm so glad. I'm so happy that I'm finally doing it. And now I have this idea where I would love to one day own a physical store, a brick and mortar. And I think it's because of my father, who owns a brick and mortar shop. And I love going to the shop with my dad, one, I get to spend time with him. And two, I get to be creative and just learn new skills and think and work with my hands and really be on my feet all day. But I enjoy, I think also because I get to spend time with my dad, and he teaches me things, and like I learn how he does things, and it's just very interesting to see the way that he problem solves and approaches something new in his work. And so I really like the way that that shows up for him, and something that I would like to recreate in my entrepreneur journey as well. I just don't know what that would look like, what sort of brick and mortar physical shop or storefront would I own. I don't know. I have ideas, and I wish I could just make them come true, but I I think I'm gonna just keep thinking about it, keep talking about it, and one day those thoughts will become an actionable thing. But for now, I want to just talk to you about the leadership qualities of introvert entrepreneurs, because we don't get enough credit and we don't even realize it sometimes. I think as introverts, sometimes we want to, they tell us, right, oh, get out of your shell. And there's a lot of strength that can be packed into someone that considers themselves an introvert and who sees themselves in spaces that are traditionally made and designed for extrovert people. And we see that everywhere. We see that in office spaces where there's no room for people to go and work alone. Everyone has to work in a team, and there's no room for people to think before they speak. Everyone just thinks out loud and speaks out loud. And that's just not the way that I operate. And that's why this podcast has also been really great, because I get to, like right now in the solo episode, I get to be alone and share with you my thoughts. And I hope it resonates. Okay, so let's get into it. Number one, as an introvert entrepreneur, you're a leader who inspires those around you to do their best work. When I was at my previous job and I was an administrative manager for the care management department, I loved motivating and inspiring my team because they were so brilliant. They were so brilliant. And that's what I love to do. And I think that's why I love coaching too. It's because I get to work with people who are ambitious, who are fucking ambitious, and who are just their values and their need to create impact and to really help people. That just gives me so much life, to be able to work with people who are deeply committed to their work and deeply committed to the point where sometimes it gets us stuck because we're so committed and we are so passionate about it that sometimes we want to make sure that we come back to that, and we don't know how to move forward because we don't want to reduce our work to just work or to just meet goals. There's a passion behind it. And I, as an introvert and as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and especially if you're a solopreneur, and if you're an introvert that's like really about like you value solo time and you're a solopreneur and you've been doing your business, I'm sure that you have seen it in not just other ventures. Maybe you had a previous job, maybe you've been at school, maybe within your own family, you realize that you can inspire people and they really value what you have to say because you take your time to think through problems. You take your time to think through challenges that people bring to you. And I'm sure that you've seen it within your relationships, your family, other jobs, school, other settings where you're working in groups and with people. And whether informal or formal, you are a leader who inspires those around you because you're thoughtful about them. You want them, you're a listener. And that brings me to point number 2, which is you are representing leadership as an open-minded process to hear not just the loudest ideas, but thoughtful ideas. And sometimes we get caught up in someone's very articulate, loud, very energetic message, and we don't realize that we dismiss ideas sometimes when they're not coming from those people. And some folks who are quieter, who take their little time, they don't express those ideas. And though they may have even better ideas than just the ones that are loud, than just the ones who are outgoing, who put themselves out there, who are riskier. I'm not saying those are not good ideas, but I'm saying both quiet and both outgoing folks have good ideas. And we have so many that we don't hear because the loudest take precedence. The loudest ones are the ones that we are attracted to. And I think that sometimes as leaders, especially introvert entrepreneurs, we get carried away by the charismatic leader and we feel like that's what we need to be and that's how we need to act and that's how we need to behave in order for people to notice us and to listen to our message. But if you are a leader and you're a business owner and you're a solopreneur or whatever type of entrepreneur you are, if you're an introvert, know that you're representing leadership in a whole different limelight and you're allowing more ideas to come through the pipeline that are not just from the people who are outgoing and just put themselves out there, but really the ones also who are thoughtful. Number 3 is you're most likely to create a community where people feel safe to express themselves. I notice when someone's quiet. I notice when someone's not speaking up or maybe afraid to take up space. And I notice the folks who are taking up more space and who are energetic and are ready to say their piece. I notice that, but that means I also notice the ones who don't. And I believe that when you notice that, when you're an introvert yourself, you notice that. You notice when others around you are also sitting back and listening and taking it in. And if you are in a leadership position as an introvert, you tend to call that in. You tend to call in those folks that are on the sidelines listening and taking in, and they may or may not be comfortable to share at that moment, but at least you provide the space and the opportunity to share. I think when there's environments and settings where the majority and the leader tends to be an extrovert, the leader facilitating a group tends to be an extrovert, they don't realize that. They don't realize that there are people around that are just listening and that they may have something to share, but they don't have the opportunity to share because the loudest voices take over the meeting. And sometimes we think that those meetings are productive, but if you don't notice the people around you that were quiet, that were listening, that were intaking information, and you don't give the space and the opportunity for those people to express themselves, then you're not hearing all the ideas that could come forward. All the good ideas possibly that we'll never hear and will never come to light. As an introvert leader, you notice and you create a space where it feels safe to express yourself, whether you're quiet or you're loud. Number 4 is you're transparent and allow for your customers to see your process. I'm realizing now that transparency is a big value of mine. Honesty, transparency, authenticity, those are all values that I'm always trying to stay true to, stay committed to, because that's who I am. And with podcasting, for example, I feel called to share my challenges and called to share the things that I'm going through, and maybe not on a stage, like in front of hundreds of people. But I know that this podcast, for example, like I write a blog and I also do this podcast now. And those are 2 platforms where I am realizing I share a lot of what I'm going through, of my emotions, of experiences that I had. And I'm very transparent. I'm very transparent with my challenges. And when a business has a transparent leader, then other people feel safe, and they feel like they can ask questions, and they can feel like they're part of the organization, and they don't feel like they have to guess what's going on. And so I want to create that. I'm a solopreneur right now. I don't have any team members. I am myself, but the community that I do have, that I do tap into, are my newsletter, or like community online and friends I've met online. And if they were to be in my organization, I want them to know what's going on. And I want my customers, and I want my community, and even people, like, you don't have to buy from me or work with me and be my client. If you're part of this community, you're part of it because I want you to learn, and I want to share with you the challenges that I went through. By being transparent is how we can actually put ourselves in situations where they may not be the same but are similar. This person shared their story and their experience, and I want to learn from that experience. And then finally, number 5 is we understand our need for recharging and how to balance, because you could be shy, and I want to make something clear, is that shyness and introvertedness are not the same thing. Yes, there is correlation for people who are introverts to also be shy, but there are very unassuming people out there where you would never think that they were ever shy at all, right? Or I think about Issa Rae, for example. She is one of the most introvert people. She calls herself an introvert, but she's in movies, and she has such an entrepreneurial spirit, and that's what I love. And I love how she has like group chats, and she talks about this, where she's in several group chats and she mutes all of them because she cannot. And that's me. And I know that for me, sometimes this translates and kind of bleeds into my relationships, my like personal relationships with friends. I won't text my friends. I won't. And to my friends out there who are listening to this podcast, I'm sorry if I haven't texted you back. I will soon. I have been thinking about all these people that I need to reach out to and hang out with and catch up with. And sometimes it's so overwhelming, so I try not to think about it too much. But we have this balance, right? Like, we know that we need to recharge, but we are also able to balance when we can be social, when we need to be social, when we need to be a specific way in order to get that sale, get the client, pitch someone, pitch investors, whatever. And I seriously think that balance is great for business, because you can be thoughtful about your decisions and your strategies, and think through those things thoughtfully, with time, with patience. And then when the need is there for you to be the social outgoing person that's going to get the investment, or that's going to go get a bank loan, or that's going to go and pitch this client, then that comes out. But there's a balance, and it's not just always towards extroversion and always being out there and always knocking on doors and always calling people and always emailing people. Introverts have a great sense of not burning out, of really balancing their work and how much they go out there with like their need to self-care and in their own solitude. So we can really strike that balance, and that's what makes us good leaders, more well-rounded than, say, someone will burn out and not even realize it, that they're burned out. So that's it. That's all I had for you for today. I hope that if you're an introvert, that it really inspired you and it really made you think about your qualities and your strengths, and there's a lot of character within you and you can do it. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you come visit me at beabosscoaching.com, or you can come on over to Instagram at beabosscoaching and tag me if you're listening to any of these episodes. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye. Hey there, fellow entrepreneur. For the first time ever, I'm offering a massive fall 2024 special for my signature strategy calls. Lock in your success with quarterly planning sessions scheduled for January, April, July, and October of 2025. Plus, get a free Q4 strategy call this year, all for just $650. That's 5 90-minute sessions of focused strategy and accountability at $225 off the regular price. Do not wait. This offer will end November 20th, so come on over to beabosscoaching.com to lock in your success plan for 2025. Payment plans are available. Let's make 2025 your breakthrough year. Now on to the show.